Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Very happy today to bring you Annie Everett. She is the director of Celebrate Recovery. And the reason I'm very excited is because I don't know much, but I just heard about Celebrate Recovery and how much it is helping my friend named Annie, who's in Norway, who recently lost her son to suicide. So she has been attending Celebrate Recovery meetings in Norway. And I was so glad to hear this, but now I get to find out really why it's helping her so much. So Annie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me, Sharon.
Thank you so much for being here today. I can't express to you enough in words how grateful I am that Celebrate Recovery is available, because it is certainly needed. Can you tell everybody a little bit about you and a little bit about why you decided to dedicate a huge chunk of your life to Celebrate Recovery?
Sure. So I am a military wife. We're active duty. And I have seen, I think everyone has probably heard that the 21 push-up challenge, because every 21 minutes there is a military member who is contemplating or who has committed suicide. That has happened to several of our close friends. And even after they've gotten out of the military, they thought that might help, but it actually made it worse for them because they lost that sense of camaraderie and brotherhood, and they also lost that sense of what their purpose is. And so that has been carried very heavily on my heart. I've been a military wife for 20 years.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And so when we were here, my husband decided that he needed to be in some type of group just to have that support and brotherhood. And we found it at Celebrate Recovery. So I began volunteering and serving and working with the kids.
Wow.
And I found out that the kids actually, the people who bring them here, they're learning the same exact 12 steps that the people who bring them here are learning, but at an age appropriate level. And I just threw my heart into it because I thought, gosh, if my kids have this will help them to understand their dad better, help them to understand other friends better. My daughter is diagnosed with anxiety and depression, so it just helped her work through some things. And as I got into the program and really fell in love with it, I started falling in love with the parents that were bringing them or the people that brought them. And next thing you know, I became the director of Celebrate Recovery. So now I oversee the entire thing, the kids and the adults, and I just love it.
Well, that's amazing. And I mentioned to you before that I just interviewed a therapist, and he talked about being, a wounded healer, which is something that is so near and dear to my heart, because my own EAP counselor for my dad, when I suffered terribly from depression and was suicidal at 21 years old, I had somebody that really understood where I was coming from, and I connected with him so deeply. And I think that when you have somebody that has such a passion for the mission of any company, whatever it might be, a real understanding and empathy and emotional intelligence surrounding it, that you really probably make a phenomenal impact on your company. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Can you let the audience know a little bit about what Celebrate Recovery is and how it came to be? Because I know this isn't new.
Yes, it actually came from the 1990s. It was founded at Saddleback Church as a result of their pastor, who had come out of an alcoholic relationship of addiction and was seeking to figure out how to find help, and created that program. And what was thought to be just going to be a small program is now over 35,000 groups all over the world. So your friend in Norway does not surprise me at all. And they meet anywhere and everywhere that they possibly can, all doing the same 12 steps and the same 8 principles throughout the world, which is really nice, because no matter where you are, wherever you're visiting, you can have the Celebrate Recovery app, put in your zip code, and find a Celebrate Recovery near you, so you don't have to miss a meeting. Or if you need to meet with someone, you can always call that director and they will come and find you and meet with you right then and there.
Fantastic. So tell me, because I'm sure there's differences. So I have said this many times. I'm sick of hearing myself talk about it, but I'm 26 years sober this past August 11th on my mother's birthday. So I understand the 12 steps very well. I'm still work in progress, like I believe everybody on the earth is. So tell me how I can meet anytime I want. I know that Celebrate Recovery is a little bit different where you have, is it Thursdays that you meet and you also have other resources? Tell everybody how they can connect.
So our group in South Tampa meets every Thursday, 52 weeks a year. We start at 6:30, we end at 8:30, and then we have coffee house after to hang out and chit chat. And we also have step studies throughout the week where they're really getting into the depth of what brought them to Celebrate Recovery. There's so many things that are just the peripheral surface of perhaps why you started drinking or why you started getting so angry. And then you find out what the real problem is actually the codependency, or you grew up in an abusive childhood, or you're trying to escape something. So it really gets down to the deeper level, and that's what the step studies do. But Celebrate Recoveries do meet throughout the week all over the United States and beyond. But ours are Thursday night, 6:30 to 8:30 here in South Tampa.
Great. So are they currently meeting in person or are you doing it via Zoom?
We do meet in person, and we recognize that some people have anxiety about that. So we offer what we call Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response, CRCR. And
Great.
we also meet on Zoom at 8 p.m. every Thursday.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm very curious about this. I have a lot of questions, Annie. I'm really happy about this. You know, when I released the book, I was 25 years sober, and I realized that the only reason that I did was not because I thought people in my recovery groups needed the help. I had this really strong sense of where do regular, normal people walking around go when they're not an alcoholic, when they're not a drug addict, when they have lost their son to suicide, when opioids was not an issue, or their mother's an alcoholic and they didn't connect at Al-Anon, whatever it might be. So knowing that there is this great resource out there is really so helpful, because Celebrate Recovery, following the 12 steps, I think is wonderful. I mean, of course, I'm a big fan, but I think anybody that is reaching out and getting any kind of help, knowing that there are people out there that can show you that they're not alone, right?
Absolutely. And the really great thing about Celebrate Recovery is what brings you here doesn't need to be an addiction to alcohol or drugs. Actually, our largest group of people are those with codependency issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then our largest men's group is actually sexual integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So pornography addiction and so forth. For the women, the other large group other than codependency is anger. And that's so important for us to be able to talk about with one another and to discuss, why do we have this? Where is it coming from? And that's one thing I absolutely love about Celebrate Recovery, is that people are here literally from everything from grief, from losing a spouse or a child or a friend, to divorce. That's a very difficult issue all in itself, to being raised by an abusive parent, to sexual integrity, to eating disorders, everything. We take whatever your hurt, whatever your habit or your hang up is, we're here to support you.
Yeah, I love that. So I've been talking a lot about trauma, and trauma just being an open wound. And now with this global pandemic and the racial unjust and the anger that seems to be weaving through the world, I think that having a place to go and sitting and relating with other people with no judgments, I assume, and no opinions, just a lot of identification and places for somebody to land when they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, we promise you that we're not going to judge you, and that we're not here to fix you. We're here to support you. And we actually do have a group for racial injustice, because that is that's very hurtful, and that can cause deep wounds in a person. And what we like to say about our leaders is that our leaders come alongside you with freshly covered wounds to walk beside you, who are gaping open, because they understand where you're coming from, and they're just going to love you through it. We offer sponsors, so that if you're getting through a tight fix and something's really tough, let's say you're an overeater and you're about to feel like you're falling back into that, you can call or text your sponsor right away, and they will be there to support you. We also have accountability partners, and Those, of course, are wonderful. If you're right there getting ready to gamble and that's your problem, that you can say, listen, I'm ready to walk in the doors right now. And what do I need to do? And they'll be like, I'll be right there, you know, and they'll come get you and they'll walk life with you. They want to support you. And we call each other forever family. Because we are forever your family here at Celebrate Recovery. And sometimes our family that we were born with aren't that great, but the ones here are going to love you no matter what and never judge you, but always support you.
I love that. So specific to the pandemic that's currently going on, what are the more common difficulties that you're all observing in Celebrate Recovery right now?
We've seen a lot more in domestic abuse. We've seen a lot more with anxiety and a lot more depression. And so that's where we really felt like we had to have and offer that CRCR, the online Zoom experience, and never have anyone miss a week of meetings. A lot of them are thrilled to be back in person, but then there's some that are very fearful of the pandemic, and we take that very seriously. So if you're not comfortable meeting in person, you can meet online. But if you are comfortable meeting in person, please know that we do masks. We have every 6 feet apart are all the chairs, that we clean off the microphones before anyone speaks and in between. We take every precaution that you can think of. We use gloves to give you your chips and your coins to celebrate your success. We have hand sanitizer every 3 feet. We really have tried to make it to as safe as possible. So no matter whatever your hang up is, you know that you are safe here at Celebrate Recovery.
I think that's wonderful. You know, I've already had COVID-19 and I still feel it is, I take a lot of precautions before I go anywhere. I have an office in Clearwater that I go a few times a week. And my meetings are Tuesday night and I go via Zoom versus going in person, mostly because of my parents. You know, I have parents that are in their 70s and I feel more comfortable like that. And I think that it is so important that we provide options to everybody that might be uncomfortable going in person, but also having something via computer. I mean, it's so great what we can offer today because the resources to just knowing somebody's on the other line in their computer or their phone that they can listen to or relate to is really a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, so we just want to meet you where you are and give you no excuses to not show up, because we like to say, you're going to work it because you're worth it.
Right, absolutely. And you do the 12 steps throughout, and you're doing these step studies, which I think is really, really fantastic. It's really just a design for living.
Yes.
And the design for living that you're offering right now when everybody doesn't really know how to live.
You're right. And that's what we think Celebrate Recovery is different from other recovery programs. We all have the 12-step program, but we have one higher power. And we believe that is in Jesus Christ. And whether you're a believer or not, that doesn't matter. But that's what we believe our 8 principles are in. That's why we have 8 of them. And it goes over the Beatitudes, which is this Sermon on the Mount that Jesus gave. And that's a lot to take in. I know what I just said. But we really believe, and other people who've come from other recovery programs will say that they can't put their higher power in a doorknob or in another person, that it has to be in something greater than. And we truly believe that's Jesus Christ.
Right. So that's, you know, it's really important that there are those options out there for people that don't mix when it comes to AA or NA or, you know, I've always said to people, I don't really care what you do as long as you're doing something that can help you, because we don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
Especially during this time of Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. It is a very, very sensitive time for everybody. We have 9/11 in September. We have another wave of whatever is going on in the globe with the pandemic, and we really need to have as many resources as possible. And Annie, you are a resource. Thank goodness. And our veterans, you know, as much as I love seeing everybody doing push-ups, I'm hoping I'm not going to get tagged.
Well, now I'm going to find you and tag you. We have groups that are just for veterans and for their spouses and family members, because we recognize it's really hard to support someone who is in the hardship of their life too. And I think we forget to take care of the caregiver. So if
100%,
you
yeah.
have someone in your family that is a suicidal tendencies or ideations, or someone that has severe anxiety and depression, you need to be supported as well. And we welcome you here at Celebrate Recovery.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, for the veterans, for the first responders, for the doctors, for the people that work at Publix, I mean, everybody needs support and love and encouragement, and an opportunity to feel less alone. So I'm so grateful that you are here and that this is a resource that's available for everybody. We'll have all the information to contact you in the show notes. Annie, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. I really, really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I'll do push-ups any day because I love me some veterans.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So don't forget, if you mention that you have seen the show or listened to the podcast, Thai Technology, 3 months for free.